What's up, guys? Welcome back. We are getting back into getting some actual work done around here, not so many of these product reviews. So I'm going to jump right into this thing for you, show you the truck, show you the parts, and then we'll go on from there. So hold on for 1 second. Let me flip this around and we'll get. And what we got here today is a 22. We've got 66,000 miles on her, and we're going to be adding some cool bank stuff, ATS thermal bypass, and an oil filter bypass. Let me show you the parts, talk about it for a minute, and then I'm going to get into tearing this thing apart, give you a couple little tips and tricks or whatever along the way. I'm not going to go into a whole lot of detail on that because it's been done and done and done again. But to keep up with the algorithm, I have to put out more and more videos so you guys get to watch me put more and more bank stuff on. Anyway, I love it. So here we got the new Banks Monster Ram. This one has the dual heater design, and this customer has chosen to do the dual heater. There is the dual heater with the jumper harness right there. And then you've got the other heater inside the small parts package. So we're going to go ahead and do the dual heater setup on that. I'm excited to show you that one is done. Then we've got these beautiful red Banks boost tubes we're going to be putting on as well. There's the small parts package for that. And then, of course, the ATS thermal bypass. So if you don't have a thermal bypass on your transmission, on your Ram, you need to get that factory piece of crap out of there and get a bypass in there, whether it's ATS or Mitsumoto or any of the other manufacturers. Get the factory crap off there and get that on. And we're also putting on that guy right there. Anyway, we're not going to talk about a whole much of that. So let's get to it. Here's the tools. Here's the truck. Here is the engine. And we're going to get into it. So I'm going to get some stuff tore apart, stop, give you some video, and back to it. And there we go. So we get the plate out. This is your air grid heater, of course. And I'm going to show you a couple things about it. You've probably seen it 100 times, but we're going to go through it again. When you hear people talking about the wiggle test, there's a cable that comes down to this terminal right here. You want to give this a wiggle and see if that moves at all. What that indicates, if it does move, is that this nut right here has been compromised and is degraded to the point to where it can no longer hold a positive connection. Now, here's why I don't like doing bus bar kits that other companies offer, is because it doesn't take care of both of those, and those bus bars are considerably wider, thus blocking more of the airflow in there. So there's the air grid heater. Now this one is relatively clean for being 66,000 miles on it. There is no significant buildup anywhere, either in the EGR, in the intake, or whatever. But here's what I want to show you guys. So for some of you that have been trying to do this job at the house and are struggling with getting those injector lines off of the back, as you notice, I did not remove number 5 or number 6. And when you do that, it doesn't take a whole lot to remedy or to move that out of the way. Of course, you've got your dipstick out of the way. You literally only have to lift up on this rail about that much. I'll show you with my other hand, about that much, and you can finagle that out and then finagle the new plate and gasket in there. Now, it does pose a little bit of a challenge getting everything clean, because as you can see, there is some debris that falls in there. That's what you have a shop vac for. Make sure you get all of the debris that you can out. Now, this edge that you're seeing right there where that little twig is, you want to make sure that you get that perfectly clean so that the gasket seals. I have seen some instances where people have done these monster rams and not cleaned that surface, and you end up with a leak across there, and you'll also end up with check engine lights. So there's one more little thing I wanted to bring up to you guys while I have this in this situation right now. I'm going to go ahead and get the surfaces cleaned, get the intake vacuumed out, and start going back together. Now, what I do not do is pre-install this guy. This is your air intake temperature sensor. It normally goes right here. On the new plate, it'll mount back here, and then there's a jumper harness that comes with the kit. I wait until I get that plate back up in there before I mount this in, so that I don't have to worry about interference with that rail that's still in the way. Again, let's make this as simple as possible. Don't remove cylinder 5 and cylinder 6 injector lines. And then when you put the new stuff back together, wait until the plate is in and torqued down before you put that sensor in there. So we're going back together with everything. Now we're putting in well, we've already put in the passenger side boost tube. Again, make sure that that boot is rotated with the upset coming this way so that you don't interfere with trying to get that oil filter out from the wheel well. One more thing to add on this. If you have that boot clocked correctly and you still have a problem with that oil filter, you might want to take a look at that motor mount that might be sagging, causing the engine to settle down a little bit more, creating less room underneath that boost tube to get that oil filter out. Have seen that happen before. Make sure you also clock your clamps so that you're not going to interfere with any wiring harnesses or anything. And make sure you have your clamps put on correctly. Now, we've already got the plates installed on this side. Let me turn on the light for you here. And we're getting ready. All of our fuel lines are on. Make sure you get that wiring harness jumper installed before you get everything else put together, because then it's kind of a pain in the butt. Anyway, we've pre-installed the boots and the driver's side boost tube. You can slide that boot down pretty far so that when you stick the monster ram in there, you have room. So that's what I do. I don't put any clamps on or tighten any clamps yet. You don't have to remove your wheel wells, liners. You don't have to remove your tires. You don't have to remove none of this. That's all a whole bunch of unnecessary steps. So now we're getting the monster ram ready to go in. But I want to show you a couple things really quick. And this is why we replaced these. So you can see how big that opening is. And then you have this crappy factory one. Tiny, big, tiny, big. Flows way more air than the factory stuff. Plus you're not going through that stupid air grid heater plate. So there's where we're at now. We're going to start installing all of the plugs in the intake manifold. And I want to show you something because I've seen videos where somebody online decided that this one needed to have Teflon tape put on it to go into this hole right here. Well, it doesn't. Here's what you have. Inside, you have a machine surface that corresponds to and creates its own seal. Do not put Teflon tape on this or sealant or anything. It goes in dry. The other plugs, there's 4 of them that go here, here, there, and there. They all have sealant already applied from Banks. So there's a picture of one right there. It's already got sealant on there. And those are just a pipe thread fitting, whereas this one is not a pipe thread fitting. So do not put anything on that plug. Just put her together dry and make sure you get it tight. Torque specs are all in the Banks catalog, in the owner's manual, the installation guides, and all that stuff. When you put your map sensor back in, make sure before you put it in that you blow it off with some compressed air and clean it. Want to give that thing as good of a chance of living as possible. And then when you put your throttle body back on, make sure that the surfaces on the throttle body are perfectly clean before you put that back together. So I'm going to go ahead and get that wiring harness jumper installed, get the plugs and the 2 heater elements, because I can do that right now, installed onto the monster ram, and get this thing set into place. Okay, here she is, final product. On the top, we still got to do the transdermal bypass, but there's the monster ram. As you can see, everything's run nice and clean. Clamps are all done. Everything's tucked up out of the way and tight. I hate it when people take these cables around this side of the monster ram. I think it just looks like crap. So I put it back in the factory location. Don't cut the ear off of that bracket. Just take that valve cover off and remove the whole bracket. Don't cut corners. Also, remember to take that thread clip out of there so it doesn't sit there and vibrate. And there she is. Everything's all done up here again. So I'm going to crawl under, do the transdermal bypass really quick so I can get this video stitched together and off to you guys for your viewing pleasure. So hold on for a minute. And there is the final part to this job today, is getting that transdermal bypass in there. Those are a must. I don't care if you tow or not. The factory ones suck. That thermostatic valve inside of them tends to stick, puts that into a closed loop. So it never, your trans fluid never makes it up to the trans cooler. But that's a must. I don't care if you get the ATS. I don't care if you get the no-name brand, the whatever. Just get that factory POS out of there and get one of these in there. And that right there is the culprit, the POS that we're talking about. That is a factory transdermal bypass. Again, they are junk. Get them out of there. You don't want to burn up your transmission because it overheats, because that POS doesn't go back into open loop and include the transmission cooler into the chat. So get it out, put a aftermarket bypass in. You'll thank me later. So that concludes today's episode of Let's Put a Whole Bunch of Cool Stuff on a Truck. And again, want to thank all you guys for watching, for reaching out with your comments, good or bad. We might have an argument over some of them, but that's okay. And, for helping out the channel, go ahead and hit that like, comment, and share button, and talk to your buddies about me. We're going to have a pretty big video coming up. It's going to be pretty controversial, but I think you guys are going to like that content. I'm not going to hint at what it is yet, but I think you guys are all going to like it. So anyway, you guys have a good day, good weekend. Stay safe, and we'll talk to you later.